Yes, guys, what is happening? So we are sat here with Leighton, also known as the Kettlebell Coach. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Leighton. I am a personal trainer and online coach. And I've been doing this for about 18 months now, specifically focusing on training with kettlebells. But I've recently branched out into more bodybuilding style and more gym-based workouts as well. So just trying to bring a more complete package to clients, really.
Perfect. So obviously me and Leighton have been working together for the last couple of months, I would say. So just explain to people like what you do is a little bit more, but like where you was before we sort of came into communication and go from there.
Yeah, so essentially I started personal training in lockdown, and I was just training people out my front room. I converted it into a gym, but I found that I was just working, training and living in the house on my own, which I got a little bit sick of. And I also found it was quite difficult for me to attract clients, particularly because I wasn't on a gym floor. I then discovered the online side of training. And so obviously I started to kind of put a few of my clients through the paces on there, but I just found that it wasn't really getting the traction that I would have liked it to get. My only medium of advertisement, was through Instagram. And so obviously I felt like I needed someone to help me out with that. And that's why I got in touch with Lewis.
Yeah, so you got in touch with me through, we were going to come to one of the seminars, weren't you, that we did. Couldn't make it on the day, but literally sent you the presentation through, and I think you messaged me the next day saying, lads, I signed up like 5 clients. And like literally that's what it was. And then from there it was like, oh, do you do this a little bit more? And we've been working together. So just give people a little bit of an insight again, up to what you go into, maybe in terms of where you was compared to client numbers, where you are now, when you started compared to how long, like 2 months maybe, just over 2 months?
Yeah, just over 2 months.
Where we're at now.
Yeah, so I think obviously initially when I started out personal training, I knew it was a passion, but there is a very distinct difference in doing something you love as a passion and running it as a business. And I just found that, I suppose Lewis's approach was the common sense approach, but just kind of things that I needed to hear. I think you can kind of get caught up in your own hype a little bit sometimes and just think, I don't understand why this isn't working for me. And I almost felt entitled to the fact that I should have been attracting clients without really doing any of the groundwork to pull them in myself. And so when I started off, I think I was just essentially giving online plans out for free to some of my existing clients. But again, I just found that wasn't really helping educate me as an online coach. The accountability side wasn't really there for the client because it was something that they were getting for free. And so they weren't necessarily as invested in making a success of it. So obviously I was meant to go to a seminar with Lewis, but I don't think I was well at the time. So yeah, like you said, I ended up reaching out to him, speaking to him, and he just helped me really lay the foundations and put the systems in place that would help me attract more clients. Not only attract them, but also to kind of give them the best experience possible. There was a lot of things that I wasn't doing. Essentially, I was just giving people some macros and a program. I was just a bit of a glorified online fitness instructor at the time.
Inside Joe.
Yeah, not necessarily an online coach. And I think since sitting down and having a good few meetings with Lewis, he kind of helped me contextualize what it was I needed to do in order to offer more value to clients. And so from then we've just been building upon the experience that I am trying to offer to my clients. But also in terms of getting them results, I've found that I've been a lot more consistent, and he's also kept me accountable in terms of what I'm doing as a coach. Obviously that is my job, to keep people accountable, but I found that I was lacking a lot of accountability myself, and so like I say, that's why I got in touch with him. But ever since, business has definitely been booming. It's definitely picked up, and because I know I have to kind of report back to him quite regularly, I was very happy to just let myself down. I'm not so happy to let Lewis down. And so, again, it just kind of keeps him there in my ear, always there for me whenever I need to send him a little voice note, ask him a question. So, yeah, I think he's very accessible as a person, and I think we get on really well now, and we're quite good mates. So I think I've just really enjoyed the experience of not only learning from him, but getting to know him as well as a person.
No, perfect. And I think that leads on nicely. It's like a lot of the reason I've set this up is because a lot of coaches, I've been there before, is when business starts to one, you don't know what your business is valued, and like, you don't know your values and where you want to get to and how you want to have an impact. And, you sort of find that the more you do it. So we know that less about macros and training and more about what impact can we have on our certain niche or our certain clientele, which is one thing that 99% of coaches struggle with. But then number two is when business gets busy, you sort of let yourself down. And I'm all about like how we can make sure that you're performing at your best so that your clients get the best version of you, everyone gets the best version of you, and your business is growing alongside that. Because people say that you can't spin these plates, but if you're putting emphasis into yourself with your training, with your nutrition, with your journey, you're documenting that, that's inspiring clients. Your clients are going to be more inspired. They're going to buy into the process more. You're building something a lot bigger than just losing weight. It's building and having an impact on something a lot deeper than that. So that's why I'm doing this with coaches and helping them, is because I've been there, I've struggled, and I want to help people who are in my position now, what I was a few years ago, get out of that position and start to really build a business that they can be proud of, they have value in, and the clients, shout to the rooftops, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, like I mentioned before, about getting caught up in my own hype. Over the last year, since I've started personal training, like I have spent a ridiculous amount of money on getting qualified and learning to educate people. I've went to America to get my kettlebell qualifications, learn from the best coaches in the world there, and I'm now as qualified as you can be as a kettlebell coach. And I thought that just by virtue of having those qualifications that people would be flocking to me by the hundreds, and that definitely wasn't the case. So I know I'm a very, very good coach. I know I'm a good educator, but again, the business side of things is something that I needed Lewis to help me out with, most definitely. Again, like even recently, I've kind of just started branching out into some of the things that I used to do. So I have a history in Olympic weightlifting and a little bit of bodybuilding as well. I've tried out a lot of modalities. I used to run. I've done a lot of things. I box as well. And so I knew I had a very kind of broad scope in terms of the fitness industry. But what Lewis has helped me do is kind of hone in on what it is people want and not just what I wanted to offer to people. And I think since kind of venturing into more gym-based programs and kind of taking myself out of my comfort zone and not just trying to shoehorn the kettlebell into every fucking thing that I possibly could.
Hence the name.
Yeah, hence the name. But I think, since not trying to shoehorn kettlebells into everything, it's helped me grow as a coach. And it's helped me kind of understand that, there are many training principles that we should apply to everything, but the modalities can vary. And I think that's helped me attract clients from other backgrounds as well now, as opposed to just attracting people who want to train from home, which was initially what I set out to do.
Yeah, I think good thing is you've done that, but then on the flip side of that, you've also got, what you want. Like you've got a broad scope of the quote fitness. It's about how you can package something up, which is what you really stand for. Yeah. And again, kettlebell being at the forefront of that functional movement, being able to train wherever, whenever, whatever. That's what you've really dialed down in. That's what the impact that you want to have. So it's, again, your old ethos is, you don't have to train 7 days a week. You don't have to do this. You can go and have 5 pints of Guinness. You can go and do this. Like that's your thing. Yeah. And that's what you want to ingrain into people and allow people to do that. So again, going back to when you first entered the industry, for example, you're not taught any of this. So, okay, someone comes to you with a task of, I want to lose weight. That's it. Anyone can do that. Like any coach can do that. It's what separates you from other people is, that's what you stand for. That's what people are really buying into. Like a lot of people buy into me as a coach because of, again, mindset seems to come into it, tribe, community, that side of things. And that's really something I'm passionate about. And more than fitness is like, it's a lot more than just getting a training program and a nutrition plan. It's changing people's lives. It's turning people's mindsets around, all that sort of stuff. So once you knuckle down with that, like you value your business a lot more. You're a lot sharper with it. People buy into that a lot more. Business grows off the back of it. So if there's one thing I would mention to coaches is like make sure you understand not necessarily your niche in terms of like I only work with that person, but what impact you want to have. It's a lot bigger than just you. Find that out first and go all in on it. And again, we're constantly finding this. Yeah.
I mean, and I think a big thing for me as a coach has generally been it sounds very cliche, but just learning to be myself a little bit more. And I think when I started off, I just tried to be the consummate professional and tried to give everyone the impression that, you know, I was holier than thou.
I'm smart, I know shit.
Yeah, like everything was just kind of trying to convey this image of myself that really was not me. And I think obviously over the last year or so, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I'm extremely real with how I live my life. I live my life like a normal person, and I think the fitness industry is riddled with people who will, you know, shout at you for not weighing your tomato sauce out in your MyFitnessPal, or people, PTs, who are genuinely having a go at their clients when they miss a training session because they've had to pick the kids up or do something like that. And I find that, you know, the more I can be real and kind of say, look, I understand life gets in the way. Training is an important part of life that supplements your life in many ways, but it's not the be-all and end-all. And I think it's something that most people should try to implement in order to make other areas of their life a lot better. And as Lewis has said, like, I am quite a heavy drinker. I know that's not something that you would particularly like to hear from a personal trainer, because you want to go to the guy with the washboard abs and, you know, who's barking orders at people. But I'm just not that guy. I've been the person who has kind of valued my physique over everything else before. I've been shredded. I've followed a particular online program, which was just me training with ridiculous intensity 7 times a day. And 7 times a day? 7 times a day, felt like it. 7 times a week, I was training at a ridiculously high pace, and I just felt like shit in every other area of my life. And I was looking down at my stomach thinking, yeah, I'm shredded, but I absolutely hate my life. I'm not drinking. I had no libido. I had no energy to do anything else. And it kind of consumed everything. And that's what inspired me to become a coach and become the person who was like, do you know what? If you're consistent and you follow the correct training principles and you're just not a cunt, you're just not an idiot about kind of how much you're eating or how little you're training, you've got that 80-20 balance, then you're going to get good results. And I think that was something that I wanted to come into the industry and convey to people. And I think since working with Lewis, he's helped me realise that being myself is the best thing that I can be. Because people don't have any surprises when they sign up for the online training and they realise that I still speak to them the exact same way I would speak on my stories. So
it's like people buy into people. People don't buy into the personal trainer. Yeah. So like, as we said this conversation this morning, like my brand is more than fitness. It's very sharp, very professional. Just how high I am as a person. Again, I've come rent a studio to have a conversation. I'm that type of person. Whereas you, cap backwards, very polarising, not really, you know, says how it is. What's your saying? What's your slogan?
Don't jump around like a cunt.
Exactly that. So like, you know, we're completely different in that sense. We're both coaches. But again, some people buy into you more. Some people buy into me more. That's all it is. They're buying into the person as opposed to the product, if that makes sense. So that's the importance of being really yourself on social media, being yourself in person, being yourself and your values, your impact, and everything comes off the back of that. Because trust me, if you try and do something that you're not, you're trying to be professional all the time, and the last thing you want to do is be professional, it's never going to work out for you because you will get found out. So stick to your guns, do what works for you, and just be you.
Yeah, and I think probably something I'd like to add to that is a lot of coaches like to convey the idea that they have the secret sauce, when the matter of fact is, like, if you are a good coach, all good coaches will do the exact same thing with you. They will follow the basic principles of training and the kind of the laws of nutrition that we all follow. You can get good results following a shit program, and I think it's something that most PTs don't want you to hear, because they want you to think that their program is the only way that you can get X results. And that's not the case. I think the most important thing is being someone who your client likes and who understands you as a client. Because if you think about the one-to-one side of training, you're spending a lot of time and with just kind of one-on-one with one person, you'll form quite an intimate relationship with them. And inevitably you want to get on with that person. You want to look forward to kind of spending time with your coach. You don't want to be the person who, when your client comes in, they think, oh shit, like he's going to absolutely annihilate me. I'm really not looking forward to this session. Because A, it's not good for business, but B, it's just not good in terms of building relationships, which is obviously what personal training and online coaching is all about.
Mate, like, again, I always use this example. I said to my clients one time, I always ask for feedback again, which I recommend people doing. feedback on me, feedback on the program, feedback on the journey, whatever. I ask the question is, what am I? And everyone goes, you're a mentor, because it's a lot further than nutrition and training. You know, these people are coming to me in dark places, being very vulnerable. And then we have that communication. I want them to be able to open up as much as they can.
Yep.
Again, that's going to build a better bond. They're going to get better results because there's a freedom of speech type thing. Honesty is the best policy. But if you've got someone who's barking orders and it's like, well, if you haven't done that, you've failed. And that's what it's sort of like that. The client's not going to get the best results. The relationship's not going to be the best. And the coaches are bellend.
Yeah.
Basically.
Not a lot of them lads, yeah.
All along them lines. But yeah, again, last question is like, okay, if you were to recommend this to someone, what would you say?
I would say definitely do it. I will start off by saying I was definitely skeptical of working with Lewis, because I have been inundated with sponsored posts on my Instagram feed of these business coaches and mentors who have a fella kind of follow them with a camera while they walk around and they're like, hey man, would you like to earn £5,000 to £7,000 OTE? And like that kind of stuff just made me proper cringe. But I think Lewis's approach was very different, and he's very personable. And I think just kind of having someone who keeps you accountable, and even like, I know he's one of the busiest people that I know, but every time I send him a message, he will respond to me within like 5 or 10 minutes with a long form voice note. And he's always gone kind of above and beyond what he needs to do. And I know some of these other business mentors are simply not like that. They just kind of give the bare minimum. So I would say definitely do it. Not only is it a no-brainer in terms of like your ROI and things like that, but he's someone who's kind of spent a lot of time in the industry himself. And especially if you are a new coach like me, particularly if you don't have a lot of kind of gym floor, like commercial gym floor experience, it was invaluable for me to learn some of the tips and tricks that he had, even in terms of just coaching clients and not for the business side of things. Like it's like I say, it's helped improve my ability as a coach, not only in person but online. And then I think those two things kind of marry together really, really well, because it's helped me apply some of the principles from in-person training to online coaching, which can be a little bit impersonal at times.
Definitely.
But I think he's helped me add the kind of convey my personality, and also give that personal touch, so it still feels like your online client is getting all of the things that they would get from personal training just online.
Perfect. And yeah, again, one of the quotes you could say is, if you work on yourself, then the profit will always follow.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Like, work on yourself, put yourself first, make sure you're working at your full best with your training, your nutrition, your business, your standards, your structure, your non-negotiables, all of these things that I never did when I was earlier on in my career. And then the profit will follow off the back of that. It's that simple. So yeah, thank you for